My most humble salutations at the divine feet of our Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Om Sai Ram, loving brothers and sisters. As we approach Sri Sathya Sai Avathar Declaration Day, the tiny sparks of divinity within our community begin to reveal themselves. An excerpt from a devotee in Singapore so beautifully puts the significance of this day. He says, "He has come to earth for us. He has revealed himself to us. We called out to him, and he has come down to protect, foster, and encourage us to grow." Today we are sitting down with Br Roopeshsingh Singh, who has been a devout member of the Sai organization for 20 years. Br Roopesh prides himself in maintaining a strict balance between his physical, professional, and spiritual life. And it is this discipline and this balance that has led him to run 10 Comrades Marathons. As many know, the Comrades Marathon is a test not only of physical strength, but that of control over the mind and the five senses in order to persevere. One also has to run many races in order to qualify for this ultra marathon. Much like in life, where we have to go through many smaller tests in order to earn the Divine's grace. Om Sai Ram, Br Roopesh.
Om Sai Ram.
Can you tell us a little bit about your Sai Center and the position that you hold?
I'm from the Roshni Sai Center and I'm the Seva convener for the center.
So, Br Roopesh, tell us what drew you to the Sai organization.
I relocated to Roshni in 1991 from Danhauser. I lived next to the temple, and on a Thursday I attended bhajans. While attending bhajans, I got involved in Seva activities where I joined the group. Our first Seva activity was in Virginia, where the floods had taken place. We took clothing and food to assist the people in Virginia. Thereafter, I participated in many more sevas, which culminated later in a trip to Prashanti, Nilayam in 1995. So when we arrived at Prashanti, we received the seva duties, and on the first day, we were allocated to clean the bathrooms and the toilets in Prashanti. So we spent pretty much the entire day cleaning the bathrooms and the toilet. So our team, once we finished, our team came back to the rooms. We stayed at the Ishwaramba school. Once we had completed, we came back and we sat on the floor and we relaxed for a short while. It wasn't long after when one of the Sevadals had come in with a clipboard and called out our names to perform the next seva duty immediately after this, and it was a 12-hour medical camp. So we couldn't refuse, so we all stood up and we walked towards the door. And just as we got to the door, the entire window behind us had actually crushed onto the floor. And we all stood there and we prayed to Swami. Thank God that we had left. Had we been sitting there, this entire window would have fallen on top of us. So we proceeded to the medical camp, which was set up next to Swami's house. And one of the rules in Prashanti is, Swami had said this many years ago, that at 9 o'clock all the lights are off and everyone should go to bed. So it was a very quiet night, and we didn't get any patients, we didn't see anyone. All we could hear there was the dogs barking, and we just spoke about Swami's miracles with the doctors that were present, and we pretty much sat for 6 hours just talking about Swami. And around midnight, there was an elderly man that walked towards the medical camp and collapsed right next to the medical camp. We brought him in immediately. We put on oxygen for him, and I was asked to massage his head. We stabilized him. We found out that he was Mr. K. Applesamy, and later that morning, one of the doctors had asked a friend of mine, Logan, and I to go out into the village and search for his family. Now, we are not familiar with Prashanti or the village. We didn't know where to go, and so we were obviously very scared. But we went. We prayed to Swami and we went out. And by Swami's grace, I mean, if you can imagine the entire village, where do we start? So, by Swami's grace, the second door that we knocked, we actually found his grandson. And we brought him to the medical camp and, asked him to bring all the medication that his grandfather had taken. And we assisted him from there. When I arrived at the medical camp, I noticed this very beautiful box on the table. And this Swami had sent with one of his Sevadals that morning for the team that had performed that medical camp that night. On the 18th of November 1995, we all gathered at the Hillview Stadium where thousands of people gathered. There was no place for us to sit, so we had to stand on rooftops, and we witnessed Swami feeding thousands of people himself. And this was a turning point in my life where I decided that I also would like to perform Grama Seva.
So, Brother Roopesh, you have been the Seva convener for your center for over 20 years now. And the lockdown period has made it very difficult to go on with devotional activities within the center. It's also challenged devotees on how they think about devotional activities such as bhajans and sevas. Can you tell us a little bit about how you and your center have maintained the seva activities during this COVID pandemic?
Yeah, it was very difficult. This is the Sundom Park recycling dump site, and we have a lot of homeless people and unemployed people that come here to recycle plastic and broken material. They sell the broken material to generate income for themselves. During the lockdown, we showed these individuals how to make eco bricks, and we taught them the importance of plastic recycling, which led to the weekly feeding scheme which exists up till today. Even though the eco bricks scheme faded out, they still continue to make a living out of recycling plastics and refurbishing broken equipment. So at the center, we have a seva calendar which is drawn up for the entire year, and it's pretty much like my running schedule. So I decide when I'm going to run and the distance I'm going to run every day. So at the center, every week we discuss the seva projects, and whether there is one individual or there's 10 of us, the seva still gets completed, because that's our commitment to Swami. And we try to integrate the seva projects with the EHV classes so that we can teach the youth project planning and to prepare them for future projects.
As mentioned, Brother Roopesh is passionate about engaging the youth in seva projects, ranging from feeding the homeless, gardening, and even more sustainable ventures like the wheelchair distribution. Us who have grown up as part of the center and have attended the EHV program now know him as one of the teachers who kicks off every year by conducting a brainstorming session to involve children in the planning and execution stages of the seva projects for the entire year. So, Brother Roopesh, my last question to you is, what message do you have for the youth?
Seva is not a once-off act. It is a philosophy put into action by discipline. Like the comrades, it's very difficult, and you have to work at it harder and harder each day to prepare for the comrades. And like Seva, you have to work hard at it and believe that you have been chosen by Swami to perform the Seva. I have a very lovely video which I want the youth to view. Please play the video.
Acts of kindness, acts of generosity is how simple it is to make people feel good. I was walking down the streets of New York City, and a guy walking in front of me, his backpack opened and a bunch of paper fell out on the street. I didn't think much of it. I bent down, I gathered up the papers, handed them back to him, and pointed out that his bag had opened. Now, in our bodies, there's a chemical called oxytocin. Oxytocin is responsible for all the warm and fuzzies, unicorns and rainbows. It's responsible for all the warm feelings and connectedness we have with each other. Friendship, love. Huge amounts of oxytocin surge through a woman's body as she gives birth. This is what is responsible for the mother-child bond. Oxytocin binds human beings. There are many ways to get oxytocin. One of them is acts of kindness and acts of generosity. It feels good when we do something nice for someone. It feels good when someone does something nice for us. On this particular day, I did something for someone with no expectation of anything in return. I got a little surge of oxytocin. I felt good. He turned to me and he said, "Thank you. It feels nice when someone does something for us with no expectation of anything in return." He felt good. I walked to the end of the street. I'm waiting to cross the street. And a total stranger who happened to be standing next to me said, "I saw what you did back there. That was really cool." As it turns out, witnessing an act of generosity releases oxytocin, and he felt good. And the best part about oxytocin is the more oxytocin we have in our bodies, the more generous we become. It is Mother Nature's way of trying desperately to get us to look after each other. I can guarantee you that that man who witnessed what I did something nice for somebody that day simply because he saw someone do something nice for somebody that day. So what if we commit to do something nice for someone with no expectation of anything in return? Imagine what happens at work. Imagine what happens at home. Imagine what happens with our friends. But it must be genuine.
Thank you, Brother Roopesh, for that inspiring video. I'm sure that it will be shared and liked across and inspire people to do good things, not only for the community, but to uplift themselves as well. I'd also like to thank you for giving us your time for doing this interview and showing us how you do Seva, so that we may, as the youth, we may take that forward. Lastly, thank you to our viewers for finding the time to listen to tiny sparks of divinity within our Sai organization that has made the Sai Avathar Day so significant. Remember that Sai has come for us. His descent is so that we may ascend to a plane of divinity. Jai Sai Ram.
Jai Sai Ram.